Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this next episode of our Rink-Side with Hits and Clips channel. In this episode, I am going to be recapping the 2025 NHL Stanley Cup final matchup between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers, a rematch from last year's finals. Well, as we know, the Dallas Stars ended up defeating the Winnipeg Jets in their series 4-2. The Edmonton Oilers defeated Vegas 4-1. The Florida Panthers defeated Toronto in Game 7, winning that series 4-3. And the Carolina Hurricanes defeated the Washington Capitals 4-1. Well, for our Eastern and Western Conference final matchups, we had the Edmonton Oilers defeat the Dallas Stars in 5 games, winning that series 4-1. That was a lot of fun. That series was a lot of fun to watch. And then we had the Florida Panthers also winning their series in 5 games, winning that series 4-1. So we know that the Florida Panthers went out and got Brad Marchand and put him on their roster for hopefully another playoff run, and that's exactly what they did. Sam Bennett wins the MVP for their team, so congrats to him. Where the Edmonton Oilers, nothing's really changed compared to last season. I mean, you had Stuart Skinner. He had his good and bad games. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, they're doing their thing. And, Darnell Nurse, Kasperi Kapanen, Evan Bouchard, just a few individuals who had a tremendous series overall. But we're going to have to see what happens in the offseason for a lot of these teams. The day is approaching where a lot of teams are going to be trading and hoping to rebuild a lot of their rosters. And I think the Leafs, the Oilers, and maybe even the Jets are some teams in particular that we might want to watch out for. We saw that Jonathan Toews, a player that we haven't actually seen in the NHL for some time, he just signed an NHL contract with the Winnipeg Jets, going back to his home team after playing a majority of his career with the Chicago Blackhawks. So that one was a little bit of a surprise for me, in my opinion. But we're also going to have to look out for the Mitch Marner situation. Now, there has been talks that there would be a Mitch Marner deal with the Leafs, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Vegas Golden Knights that would send Mitch Marner to Vegas. Now it sounds like Carolina is out of the picture and Vegas is looking to claim Mitch Marner alone off of the Toronto roster and put him on their organization. So we're going to have to see how all of that plays out. Now, for the Edmonton Oilers, Stuart Skinner is a great goalie, but he's probably a guy I would probably want to move away from. Now, we just saw that John Gibson, the goaltender for the Anaheim Ducks, he just got traded to the Detroit Red Wings. So see how that will play out for the Red Wings organization. We just saw that Nicholas Hague just got traded from Vegas to Nashville. Nashville looks like they're going to be a dominant opposing force going into next season. I think the Predators are looking to become playoff contention next season, considering the players that they have been bringing onto their group. Now, what does it look like for the Dallas Stars? They just traded Mason Marchment, one of our local Uxbridge residents, to the Seattle Kraken. Is Seattle a playoff contention for next season? Now, what about the Utah Mammoth, a team that was just relocated from Arizona to become the Utah Hockey Club and renamed the Mammoth organization? We're going to have to look out for a lot of teams in particular, like with Vegas trading away Nicholas Hague, but they're bringing on Mitch Marner. Is Vegas a team that's still in a contention run, or are they looking to back away for a season? Is the Seattle Kraken and the Nashville Predators a playoff contention next season? Maybe the Dallas Stars are, maybe the Anaheim Ducks are. Now, I don't know about the Anaheim Ducks as much because they just traded John Gibson. They didn't really get too much back, just a few draft picks, but we're going to have to look out for some of these clubs. Now, you look at the New York Islanders. Congratulations to the New York Islanders. They just got first overall pick Matthew Schaefer from the Erie Otters of the CHL. So congratulations to the New York Islanders organization in picking up Schaefer from the Otters. We look at someone like Keyshawn Aitchison. He just got drafted by the Islanders as well from the Barrie Colts. We look at someone like Michael Misa, who spent his majority of his OHL career with the Saginaw Spirits. He gets drafted to the San Jose Sharks. We look at Jake O'Brien, former Brantford Bulldog. He just got drafted by the Seattle Kraken. We look at Porter Maltone. He just played with the Brampton Steelheads. He gets drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers. Well, we look at Simon Wang, big name in the Oshawa Generals organization. He goes to the San Jose Sharks. And then we highlight the Western Hockey League a little bit. We look at players like Blake Fiddler. He played with the Edmonton Oil Kings. He gets drafted by the Seattle Kraken. We look at Ben Kindle. He played for the Calgary Hitmen and he gets drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins. We look at Roger McQueen. He played with the Brandon Wheat Kings and he gets drafted by the Anaheim Ducks. Goaltender Joshua Ravensbergen. He played with the Prince George Cougars and then he gets drafted by the San Jose Sharks. So there's a lot of future potential in the NHL that just happened to get selected in this year's NHL draft. And congrats to every single individual star of the CHL who got drafted to the NHL this past weekend. Now, there's going to be a lot of upcoming future stars that we're going to have to look forward to next season. You look at Gavin McKenna, a huge individual for the Medicine Hat Tigers organization of the Western Hockey League. He is expected to go first overall in next year's NHL draft. So that's a player you're going to want to watch out for go into next season. Now, just recapping a little bit more of the NHL finals between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. This is another rematch of last year's final. I was very disappointed to see that the Edmonton Oilers came up short again to the Panthers. I mean, I give the Panthers credit, Sergei Bobrovsky in between the pipes, Brad Marchand, and you look at Sam Bennett, two individual stars that played offensive for those Panthers. And, you just got to think that the Panthers, they earned that. The Edmonton Oilers, they had a great team once again. It seemed like they were putting out the same team as they did last year. They came up short, but they're going to have to change a few things next year. Connor McDavid, man, he is one of the most iconic NHL stars in the world of hockey, and he is someone that is going to win a Stanley Cup one day. And I really hope it is with the Edmonton Oilers because at this time, he is still undecided whether or not he's going to sign that NHL contract with the Oilers again. And I think it would be a mistake if he didn't. I'm hoping it's with a Canadian team, but you're just going to have to see what plays out. Edmonton, you have to keep Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid on that team no matter what. You're going to build around your team. It's going to take some time to get to that next step. You look at last year and it was just a heartbreaker. It was a heartbreaker for us, the fans, for the community, for the city, for the organization. But then this year, it didn't seem as much of a heartbreaker. Yes, it was sad to see the Edmonton Oilers not win the Stanley Cup again, but again, the Edmonton Oilers, they have potential. Personally, in my opinion, I'm not a big fan of Darnell Nurse. He is a former Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound, so he does have a lot of potential. He is a great individual and a great asset part of the Oilers organization. I just don't know if him and players like Evan Bouchard and even Stuart Skinner, those individual players, if they work, you look at the Leafs. It's similar to the Leafs organization. There's players on the team that will win a Stanley Cup with the team one day, except are players that are making a big impact, are those players going to help contribute to the other players, the other teammates? Toronto, you're finishing at the top of the Atlantic. Winnipeg, you're finishing at the top of the Western Conference. Edmonton, you're finishing at the top of the Pacific. That's fantastic, but are you able to see the overall picture realistically when it gets to Stanley Cup finals time? I think we were all expecting the Edmonton Oilers to win the Stanley Cup this year. Oh, yeah, it's the Edmonton Oilers this year. You got 5 Canadian teams in the Stanley Cup finals this year. Ottawa's playing Toronto. Winnipeg and Edmonton have a great shot. Montreal's playing Washington. I would have liked to see Vancouver in it, except the Vancouver Canucks just couldn't get over that hump. The Vancouver Canucks played the Oilers in the second round last year and hoping for another comeback. But with Evander Kane now on the Canucks organization, formerly an Edmonton Oiler, could this spark the Vancouver Canucks a little bit more? Could we see a second or first round matchup between Edmonton and Vancouver again? Will we see Calgary in the playoffs? Will Winnipeg not only clinch the Western Conference and the top of the league, will they even be able to get to the Western Conference this year, get past teams like Edmonton, Dallas, Vegas, etc.? We're going to have to wait and see. Are the Colorado Avalanche playoff contention? Are they ready? What about the Dallas Stars? Are they going to be replaced by the Seattle Kraken? We don't know. We're going to have to see how some of these players are able to adapt to their new team. Are certain players a good fit? Like, was it a good idea to sign John Tavares to the Leafs when there was so much uncertainty whether or not he was going to stick around? Well, you look at players like Connor McDavid, for example. I think it would be a missed opportunity if Edmonton didn't sign McDavid because he is someone, he's a star, man. He is going to lead that team no matter what. You can't just assume that the Edmonton Oilers aren't going to win a Stanley Cup if McDavid doesn't show up time and time again. It's a team sport, it's a team effort. You got to make sure that you're building around the team, but also realistically keeping your stars in the place that they need to be. Yes, McDavid has reached the end of his contract, but it would be a mistake, in my opinion, if Edmonton passes up on him. But anyways, we're gonna have to see how that plays out. That's just a little recap of the 2025 NHL Stanley Cup Finals. How did your NHL playoff bracket turn out? Did your team end up reaching as far as you thought they were going to? Maybe we thought that the Vegas Golden Knights were also going to give Edmonton a run for their money as well. But we're going to have to wait and see what comes in the offseason next season because we're still a long ways away from next year's Stanley Cup Finals. Thanks, everyone. Leave your thoughts down in the comments of what you think is going to happen next season, your overall thoughts of what happened this past season and in the playoffs, and who you're hoping for who will win the 2026 Stanley Cup next year. Be sure to follow us over on our social media platforms, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any videos like this. And we will see you in the next video.